here with another edition of Mason County Press's The Scoop, brought to you by West Shore Bank. And today I'm joined by Courtney Magaluk, City Manager of Scottville, and Mitch Foster, City Manager of Ludington. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Doing well, not too bad right now.
All right. You guys holding up all right in your offices on the lockdown, basically?
Yes.
Yeah, as
Good
best
deal.
we can.
So we're going to talk a little bit about city government, how the whole quarantine has affected Ludington and Scottville and Mason County as a whole. And I'm just going to kind of let you guys inform our viewers of what's been happening, predictions of what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks as we see things slowly starting to open. So Courtney, I want to start with you. What's going on in Scottville?
So we are trying to keep things running as closely to normal as we can. So throughout the shutdown, we have kept staff here at City Hall to be able to answer questions over the phone, online, email, etc., and have slowly ramped that up to make sure, we're processing all the regular business we need to. Our DPW staff has still been hard at work, trying to do that as safely as possible, practicing social distancing, but really, making sure we maintain those core services for all of our residents. And actually, a little bit more demand for that because people are at home more and, and needing additional things, and really working with them to provide as much flexibility as we can on, water bills, and trying to understand the difficulties they're having, as well as our businesses that, have been struggling to either remain operating under the restrictions, or getting whatever we can in place so they can reopen successfully.
Sure. So what does your reopening plan kind of look like in the next couple of weeks? Because I know Governor Whitmer pushed back again to the end of May, but what can we expect from the city of Scottville?
Yeah, so we keep putting in a plan, and it seems to be adjusting, but as soon as we're ready to go under the governor's orders, we're ready to open City Hall back up. We've got plexiglass barrier in place, our operation plan to keep everybody safe, cleaning schedules, etc. So we're just working to follow that guidance. Same thing with Riverside Park. We were able to bring back our staff as outdoor workers. So, as soon as we have the clear, we look forward to bringing that service back as well.
Sure. And any, can you talk about any kind of impacts that the local businesses have had or are kind of feeling right now?
Yeah, so we have had a few that have been able to reopen for pickup and curbside service.
Okay.
A couple of our restaurants that have been able to continue to provide takeout. I think the struggle will be for them as they start to reopen for regular business following those state guidelines. As far as, we've heard that North Country is putting up the curtains and some of those things to be able to have customers back in the store. So, whatever we can do to support them in that, we will.
Sure. Okay, Mitch, I'm going to throw it over to you. Same question, different city. What do you guys do? What's been happening in Ludington? What can we look forward to reopening soon? Throw it at me.
All the above. Yeah. So
All of the above.
yeah, I mean, like Courtney said, with regards to Scottville, it's very similar in Ludington. We have the way that we've structured staffing is right off the bat. As soon as the stay-at-home order went into place, we tried the completely remote staffing for all of our office, as well as going to a platoon system with public works, police, utilities, all of the like. We figured out that just based on, as Courtney said, the number of phone calls we're getting with everybody at home, or a vast majority of residents at home, we couldn't handle in a remote setting. So we've gone again to a platoon system here at the office, where we've got half the staff in the mornings, an hour break to clean, and then half the staff in the afternoons, really for the last month. That has worked out fairly well. Obviously, we're not able to get to everything because we don't have the staffing, and that goes for public works. With 5 crew members on at a time instead of the full 10, they really aren't able to get to a lot of stuff, but it is preventing us from having an issue within our own staff or possibly passing it along to others if COVID were to enter our system or our staff members. So that's been, from the city standpoint, we've done the best that we can. City council meetings have been via Zoom. Yeah. Trying to maintain that as the moderator as I play has been interesting, but we've still tried to continue on with regular business that way. We're still doing, whether it's yard waste pickup or other things with Republic Waste or Republic Services. We've been working with them, and I know Scottville has as well, to try to make sure that all of those services still continue. But things are just a little bit different. And I think, as Courtney said, we've all got plans as to what they're going to be here moving forward and what everything looks like. Right now, our plan is 5 or 6 pages long. My hope is to publish that with the public here in the next couple of days, share that with Mason County Press and other media sources so that everybody knows what the city is going to be doing, what changes they will see when they enter City Hall, what changes they'll see at City Council meetings or maybe out in public when they are interacting with our staff, as well as, if you're a visitor to Cartier Park Campground or to one of our marinas, what's it going to be? What's the difference going to be moving forward? Our plan as of right now is starting on Monday of the upcoming week. We will go back to regular staffing for all of our fields staff members. And then tentatively, as we've all kind of talked about with the governor's current stay-at-home order, we'll go to June 1st, reopening City Hall with a lot of restrictions in place and changes. So again, this is as fluid a situation as you're going to get. And I know Courtney mentioned it, and it's a perfect example. This plan has changed probably 50 times, working with the health department, with emergency services,
Right.
with our own legal counsel to make sure we're not doing anything that puts anybody in danger or puts anybody in a bad circumstance, and working with our staff members. We're going to have an all-employee call this week to say, hey, last-minute input here. I want to know what concerns you guys have, what are the issues that we foresee, and then once that's taken care of, we put it in place and then adjust on the fly. The perfect example I've heard is we're building the airplane as we fly it. That is 100% true with this circumstance. It has been fluid and changing. I know everybody is doing best. I don't think anybody's doing anything with ill intentions for the most part. And so I think right. I think that's the perspective we really have to take when it comes to this stuff. So it's been very interesting from the city's standpoint.
Have you heard in Ludington any of the businesses that have been doing better, doing worse? I know a couple places have posted via Facebook and stuff that they've been hit so hard that they've already gone out of business. And that's, sad to see for any city to have this happen, and it's so unexpected that they have to close their doors. So where are you guys sitting with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, because this is different than 2008 in a completely different manner, because in 2008 you had a complete slowdown of the economy. Right now, this is just a straight up pause of the economy. There is no better way to describe it because everything's been put on hold. And so if you look at especially like our downtown retail and restaurants, most of them either closed down fully right off the bat or adjusted so drastically that their business model changed. And so our downtown Ludington board's been working to try to help them out a little bit. They had a gift card buyback or buy program with matching dollars from them as well as the chamber that worked on that. I know some of our restaurants 2 weeks ago, you had a weekend where the 10 spot opened up out in PM Township. You had Table 14 that opened up. You had Jamesport that was still doing awesome Friday fish. That Friday, my understanding is 3 or 4 different restaurants around town sold out of food by like 7 o'clock. That's awesome. I think that's great news. I think it shows that people still want to shop local and do those things. We've got to keep doing that to support them, whether that's in Scottville, the city of Ludington out in PM Township. We go to these places locally so that we can continue to support them and make sure they're here. The city, I know what we're working on is working with the Downtown Ludington Board and the Chamber of Commerce to issue a survey to residents and visitors, really customers of businesses, to say, what's it going to take to get you back into the businesses? When are you going to feel comfortable? What does that look like? And then from there, we're going to be having a meeting with some of our retail shops and restaurants and other establishments to say, all right, who's interested if we close down some of the streets to be able to move some of your product or your tables out there to be able to spread out and maybe hit the same number of guests that you would normally be able to in this new circumstance surrounding COVID-19. What are some things that we can do to get out of your way so you can get back to work? So we've got a handful of zoning items that we're working on to try to prepare and be ready to push out there, as well as some of these, I would say simple, but not normal for local government to just get out of the way. Like being able to use the alleys or parking lanes for tables and chairs or racks of clothes or shoes to sell, or maybe some of our hairdressers or salons in town being able to take a chair outside and maybe an extension cord and utilize that space because they don't have enough space inside. It's trying to find these creative solutions to work together so that they can get back up on their feet to try to catch up or make up for this lost time. Because as much as the PPP program or the MBDC grant dollars or some of these other funds that were available, as much as they helped some businesses, they didn't help nearly enough. And so I think we're going to try to take some really simple, basic, but adjustable steps so that, all right, let's try this. If it doesn't work, let's shift it and do something different, whatever we can do to help or get out of the way.
Now, for both of you, there are certain things people need to come into the city hall to buy, like yard waste bins, tags, and just different items. How are you guys both kind of dealing with that? Like, if you need to get a yard waste bin or garbage bags or anything like that. Courtney, what's Scottville really doing for people to be able to pick those up?
So one thing that's been nice, we've always had a relationship with the Wesco in town where people could buy their garbage bags there, and they've remained open. Certainly people that prefer to buy them from City Hall. We found ways to do, kind of contactless exchange and, handle a lot of that over the phone. So, that has actually, worked relatively well using the Dropbox and the phone, and things like that. So people have been able to, get all those regular services that they need.
Okay, cool. Well, that's really awesome that Wesco does that for you guys. That's
yeah,
quite handy actually, because everybody
Yes.
goes there. So, all right, Mitch, what are you guys doing?
So for the most part, similar to Courtney, our Dropbox was super popular. Online payments have become really popular. Phone call payments have become really popular. Right at the beginning with yard waste bags, we were sending them out to folks or allowing them to do some contactless drop-offs to our building. What we also worked out with Republic Waste or Republic Services was the use of yard waste stickers for their carts for an additional portion of time through the month of April, so that people didn't necessarily have to come in and buy those right away. So, but then, U.S. Post Office has been really helpful for us to be able to send a lot of things out to people via the mail. But really, it's just trying the best that we can to figure it out. And if all else fails, we're just saying, if you don't have your permit quite yet, you're good to start on some of these things. We'll get you the permit as soon as we can open back up and be able to get you some of these things. But, it's really just trying to be as accommodating to our neighbors as best we can.
Yeah. Okay. So big question. I think a lot of people are wondering about. We have a lot of tourism, and Ludington has it more for being right on the lake. Scottville and the out county areas have it for fishing, hunting, camping, all of the above, and people are wondering, okay, somebody has a seasonal home up here legally. And the governor said, if you want to go up and, stay at your seasonal home, it's okay. Ludington has Epworth. A lot of people have said these people are coming from, a lot of the people that stay in Epworth too are coming from bigger metropolitan areas and just in general. And those are the areas that have been hit a lot harder, that we hear a lot more about. What are we doing to, deal with that? I mean, people are coming up. We've already seen it. And we see a lot of snowbirds that have come home and hopefully done the 14-day quarantine and all that. But what are the cities doing to deal with that? Do you guys have anything in place, or are we just kind of, I'm sure you do, but you don't know everybody that's coming up. So Mitch, what's Ludington doing for that?
It's a tough balancing act. There's no question, because, in a community like Mason County, as kind of a general idea, we rely on our visitors a lot for the summertime for that big push of revenue for our businesses. And so I know in Scottville and out county, PM Township, Hamlin, we've got these businesses and these vacationers or seasonal residents that come in, and they're a big part of it. And so we've tried to keep the lines of communication open with our friends at Epworth, with our friends out in the county, working with Liz Remink at Emergency Management, and as well as District 10 Health Department to make sure this is communicated out that, hey, if you're coming in, we have a policy on staff that if you leave the state or if you go internationally, there might be a self-quarantine requirement. I think it's the same situation when it comes to our visitors. Hey, if you're coming in, great. We'd love to have you back in town. However, please stock up enough in advance of you coming up here to make sure that you don't have to necessarily go out in public. Or if you do, here are the things that you need to make sure that you're doing. Whether that's wearing a mask, continue to wash your hands and wipe them down with hand sanitizer, doing those sorts of basic common sense type items. But it's also on the other end, which is working with our businesses to make sure that they're prepared to do some of the things that they need to make sure people are separated and make sure that they're following up with folks, as whether they're visitors or residents, to make sure that the spread of COVID, if it were to come into the community en masse, would not be as detrimental to everybody as possible. And so it's really communicating out, because in all reality, the city doesn't have the power to dictate to somebody, hey, you can't leave your house.
Right.
And so what can we do to be good neighbors, to work with one another in a respectful manner that says, all right, great, you're part of our community for these several months or just a couple of weekends when you come up and visit. Awesome, we appreciate that. But let's work together to make sure that whatever issues you're leaving are not brought with you. And let's make sure that we all work together as a community.
Sure. Courtney, I'm guessing you guys feel the same way out in, Scottville and out county kind of things, but anything else you guys have noticed about visitors coming back or residents coming back?
No, I think it'll be really interesting in the next few weeks as it opens up more. I think there's a lot of, pent up demand for people, to be able to, get away. They spend a lot of time in their house. So, as much as we can, set the stage for them to be able to do that safely, to, open up our parks and allow them to safely have that recreation and get out and, get out in nature and enjoy their families together. And we want to do all we can to support that.
Sure. And I think one thing too that a lot of people are concerned about is not necessarily as much as the chain hotels and stuff, but more of the mom and pop kind of hotels, bed and breakfasts, inns, that kind of thing, and the campgrounds and the state park. I mean, if this continues to get pushed back and people can't come up here, that's really going to take its toll on these communities. Because we rely so heavily on tourism. And just what are your guys' thoughts, Courtney and Mitch? What do you guys just personally feel about, let's say Whitmer pushes it back even further. Let's say, they can't come up until mid-July, end of July. How does that look for the communities moving forward? Because I mean, that's going to take a dramatic hit on both of these communities. What do you think, Courtney?
Yeah, I mean, I think I know the restrictions are put in place to keep people safe, but it will be a real hardship, on our communities if that happens. I appreciate the phased approach of, looking at what can we open safely and let's do that first. I'm hoping that, camping is one of those that, like at Riverside Park, we have, pretty nice large campsites, a lot of units are self-contained. It's one of those situations where, I think we can start to open that up safely and just take that gradual approach. And I'm hoping it will be sooner rather than later.
Sure. And even doing like every other campsite. I mean, there's definitely ways.
There's ways, yes.
Especially for Riverside Park you can do. But Mitch, what about like some of the hotels, especially the ones like downtown? A lot of bed and breakfasts, a lot of, smaller hotels run privately, and the state park. I mean, if people cannot come back to camp at the state park, that's a lot of people that are not entering, Ludington and spending their money.
Right, exactly. And as soon as the DNR made the decision to postpone camping at the state parks until the middle to end of June, our campground received a ton of phone calls with regards to new reservations being requested, especially up until the June 22nd timeframe. We're taking the approach that, especially our seasonals in general, those folks may not have another place to go. They may be in Florida at a campground up until May 15th when they're supposed to be then camping here. So we're trying to figure out how this all works with the executive order. And it's the same token on the marina side, and I know all of our private marinas in town are dealing with the same issue. Charter boats are not allowed, But right now we're being told that gas docks are not. You can't serve gas to these folks. So how are they supposed to operate their charter boats without serving gas to them? So we as an organization and as a community, I think, still are going to try to figure out how we're going to act towards this. But, you know, the other thing that we've got to keep pushing is hotels and motels are legally allowed to be open even for non-essential persons right now, but they can only do the room. They can't do room service. They can't do the bed, the breakfast piece of the bed. So we've got to keep pushing that, you know, once people feel comfortable to start moving, that they can do those things. But we've got to work with everybody and I know the Chamber of Commerce is going to work with both communities to say, all right, here, everybody sign on to something that says you are doing X, Y, and Z in your industry. So bed and breakfast, motels, hotels, whatever it may be, here's your standard that you're going to be putting in place for cleaning, for doing all number of things to say, we are ready. We are prepared for this. When it does open back up, you know, residents, visitors, there is nothing to be concerned about from a procedure standpoint. If something slips through the cracks, there's nothing we can do at that point. But I agree with Courtney. The phased approach, my only concern with it is that right now, our county is part of the Grand Rapids region. I understand the purpose of it because it's kind of twofold. It's part of the prosperity regions that were created under Governor Snyder, but it's also part of the Spectrum health system. They broke it up by health system district. But Manistee is literally 20 miles down the road, and they're part of a different, you know, region, which is now going to open up, my guess, significantly sooner than what ours will, based on Grand Rapids being a significantly larger metro area. We are not the same as Grand Rapids. We are having COVID cases increase right now. I know the Senate Fiscal Agency is reporting a lot of this, but we're having cases increase in an exponential rate just because we had so few right off the bat. But we're still not getting hundreds of cases like they are in Grand Rapids. And a lot of our rural counties are not having that. And so I think there can be a phased approach that can be tweaked a little bit in some of our communities. And I hope the governor and I know our state legislators are working on this as well. But it's got to be in a respectful way to do this. I think too often right now, and this will be a little bit of a diatribe, so I apologize, we've got to work together in this circumstance, and we can't get just so angry at one another like you're seeing, whether it's on the news or on social media. Too often it's me against you or this against that. Right now, we're all struggling. We are all as frustrated as possible because we can't see our friends, we cannot see our family, we cannot hug our loved ones. So how can we better work together to get through this? And I think the simple things, shop local, dine out, take out, go to a park, sit down there, eat your food, you know, get outside, go for a walk, say hello to a neighbor from 20 feet away, whatever it may be. But it's these little things. And then once end of June, July, whenever we open back up, then when we can do that, then it'll feel normal that we can start going into these shops and staying at hotels and motels again.
Sure. Well, I want to thank you both for joining me today. And it's just so uncertain. I think that's the biggest thing that people are really feeling, just the unknown. I mean, I have a 5-year-old daughter and she asks me all these questions all the time and I tell her I don't know. And then she gets mad at me and like yells at me, why don't you know? And I'm like, because I don't know. So, and I mean, the teachers are feeling it, you know, with the schools not being in session, but being in session online. So, I mean, everybody needs to just kind of come together, and this too will, you know, end hopefully. And I hope after, you know, the summer season, we don't see another influx of it, but we don't know, you know, that's the thing. And maybe this is the new norm of what we have to do. So again, I want to thank you guys for joining me, and thanks for doing everything that you're doing. And we look forward to, you know, continuing to see changes, because they're going to happen, and updated documents that you can share with everybody. So again, stay safe, and I appreciate it. For any other news, make sure you check out MasonCountyPress.com or check us out on Facebook. Our weather is always brought to you by Smith & Eddy Insurance. And again, COVID-19, it's affecting all of us, but everybody's doing the best that they can to keep us all safe in our communities.